can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free.
What's up? It's a happy qualifying offer rejection day to you. Yes, we'll rip packs later. I know you're very excited. It's like Christmas in November, but happy qualifying offer rejection
Forget qualifying
day.
offers, okay? If I'm get the Paul Skenes today, we are going to have Pirates tickets for the next 30 years, Scott. 30 years.
I only want World Series tickets for the Pirates.
Well, listen, we can sell them for 30 years right behind home plate. So Pirates, I'm coming for you. I might be the GM, Ben Cherington. I might be the AGM by that time. You're going to hire me.
So you're saying there could be changes to the Pirates front office. We will get into that. We're talking to Will Venable today, Jason Mackey, about the Pirates. And the card might be the most interesting part about them right now with their offseason. I haven't heard a peep about them. And then Ken Rosenthal back on FT. Excited for that. But let's talk about the Pirates to start here. Charge the mound, please.
Charging the mound.
Paul Skenes, congratulations, National League Rookie of the Year. Luis Gil, congratulations, American League Rookie of the Year. Pretty cool. One race was very close. Gil getting the edge over Colton Cowser, and then Wells was way down, and the rest of the pack here. We'll start with American League. That's close right there.
That's very cool. I mean, I think Gil was kind of a surprise. I think most people thought Colton Cowser was going to win.
Really? I thought
I
Gil
think
was going to
people
win.
we talked to said that, but the one that to me that just doesn't make sense to me, how was Mason Miller fourth?
I think innings, he ended up
Pitching in Oakland?
missing some time, and maybe people aren't paying attention to the ATHs. Hey, you know who's right below him? Who had a nasty season?
Smith.
Cade Smith.
Yeah, true.
You know our friend Aaron Gleeman?
He
from the
went.
Twins? Did
He
you
put
see
those
his picks?
2-3, I think.
Yes, he picked Miller and Smith 2-3, and I looked at it and I was like, cool. I'm okay with that. There's a lot of balance in the American League this year in terms of the rookie race. Kratz?
I think it sucks that they took Colton Cowser's first place votes. But I guess those voters felt like those guys were worthy of a first place. But had Colton Cowser gotten one of those first place votes, that would have pushed him over Gil.
That's true. Do you think that
either
some
of them
people
were-
weigh
either of
pitching
them were
versus
number
hitting
one.
more? Wait, what?
I don't think either of those guys were number one. So I don't know why they got first place votes.
I don't know. I mean, Mason Miller is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's not forget, at one point, Luis Gil, they were talking about putting him in the bullpen. I mean, but he just pitched in New York and pitched on the biggest stage. And he had some epic numbers, though. If you look at, like, his batting average against and runners in scoring position, there was a lot of really good numbers for Luis Gil. This is not a knock on Luis Gil. I just thought Mason Miller should have been a little bit higher than fourth. I thought maybe he could have slid into the third place spot at least.
Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, I mean, if you match up Jackson Merrill and Colton Cowser, the adjusted park stats are pretty close. Jackson Merrill was at 127 OPS plus. Not every at-bat's the same. He had a ton of clutch winning ABs, but Colton Cowser was a 123. You've got a center fielder who did good work, finished one win above replacement. That doesn't do everything for me anyway, but just throwing it out there. Good for Colton, though. Gets an extra $500,000. That's cool, because when you're a pre-arb league minimum player, you're getting 700 something. So he gets an extra $500,000. The Yankees don't get an extra pick for Luis Gil winning Rookie of the Year. You know how that works? You have to be on the top 100 lists. So he was not ranked top 100 on the prospect rankings. So the Yankees don't get a pick out of it.
Do we think
I
it's
don't know
weird?
if I like that.
I don't hate it, but do we think it's weird that he made his debut in 21 and now in 2024 he finally gets Rookie of the Year? He still has rookie status. Like this will be the last rookie that I played with. I played with him at the alt site in 2020, so there's no way there's another Rookie of the Year candidate that I played with.
That's interesting. I wonder if they should ever take a look at what eligibility means, right? Like if you play
Well, like the
10 games
Japanese
a
guys
year.
to me are different because a lot of them are older. Like Sasaki, if he comes over and pitches next year and does well, he'll probably win Rookie of the Year, but he's older and he's already pitched in their big leagues for years.
Yes.
And let's not forget, Luis Gil was traded for Jake Cave from the Twins, too.
Mm-hmm. Good pickup.
Owie.
Good pickup.
Owie.
Yeah.
Owie.
And then
Twins. Sorry, Twins. Owie.
on the other side, you have Paul Skenes winning. And remember that Ken Rosenthal article about how the Pirates could have limited the innings. And if you kept limited the innings and the starts down the stretch, it might have given someone like Merrill an advantage. The Pirates don't get anything out of this situation. They essentially called him up too late, and then they let him eat, which I respect. But in retrospect, should they have just called him up from the jump? Because this system is twofold. I do believe that the Pirates need to take advantage of having a Paul Skenes and nailing a draft pick. And if you think he's ready, call him up to start the year because you get an extra freaking first rounder out of it. It's the Pirates. They need that.
No, hold up. They also have Jared Jones and Mitch Keller, and they have Paul Skenes on league minimum contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now is the time to go. If you're a Pirates fan, if you're a Pirates organization, you got to go because Keller's locked up, Jones is on league minimum, and Paul Skenes is on league minimum. You got to go now because those are three pretty good people to piece your rotation around, And then you have what's the catcher, Kratz, the catcher that's coming back that was pretty good 2 years ago that had Tommy John.
Eddie Rodriguez.
He's pretty good, right? You got Brian Hayes. You got Brian Reynolds. You got some O'Neal Cruz. You got some dudes that can play now.
They need thumpers, though.
They need to go, but they got to go get them.
They're not going to.
Well, this
They
is
need
your
a
shot.
shortstop.
This is your shot, Pirate. IKF. They got IKF.
Okay.
Utility. But wait, I just want to explain this really quick. So Paul Skenes now gets the full year of service, right?
Yep.
Because he wins Rookie of the Year. Because he was called up on May 11th, it was too late for the Pirates to be eligible to get the pick for a Rookie of the Year or a top 3 Cy Young finisher. So just throwing out the clarification there for people. Because that matters.
Can I say that this was a case of popularity contest? And I know the other day I said about how Jackson Merrill should win the Rookie of the Year. And AJ, you were like, he did historic stuff. Like, does historic stuff mean it hasn't been done in a while? Because if I go back to Spencer Strider's, and I'm going to pull these numbers up, Spencer Strider's rookie year. Do you remember who won Rookie of the Year that year?
Michael Harris.
Okay. So Spencer Strider had 202 strikeouts in 131 innings. Paul Skenes had 170 strikeouts. Spencer Strider had a 1.83 FIP. Okay? Skenes had a 2.45. Spencer Strider's ERA was a half a run higher. It was a 2.67. Okay? And his WHIP was lower than it was right at Paul Skenes. He had more strikeouts per 9 innings than Skenes.
Kratz.
Go ahead.
Kratz. Nobody cares.
Go ahead.
I'm going to be completely honest. Nobody cares. Michael Harris won it. He had a great year. Nobody cares what Spencer Strider's FIP was, what his WHIP was, what his dip, what kind of dip he had in. I mean, nobody cares. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. Here's the deal. Michael Harris won. Paul Skenes was going to win this year because MLB wanted him to win. The Pirates needed him to win, and he was the first overall pick. And he's got the girl, the girl on his arm.
Wait.
He's got the whole deal.
So it's a popularity contest.
Because he arguably was the best pitcher this year in baseball.
Yes,
right. He had
also true.
And he had 23 starts, not like 13. Okay, and it's like what he needed to go 28 starts. He was called up May 11th.
And also the first 3 starts, they let him pitch like 2 innings.
Yeah, and wait, hold up. I'm going to give you the key stat, and then we'll break. ERA plus. I love OPS plus and ERA plus. Do you know what the ERA plus for Paul Skenes was this year? 2.14 is a disgusting number. Spencer Strider 2021 or 2022 ERA plus 1.54. That is not in the same stratosphere. They were not even close.
No.
Worlds apart.
Skenes had a historic year. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, Spencer
Same
Strider's
innings,
awesome.
Worlds apart in productivity.
Yep.
For Strider's rookie and Skenes' rookie year. Worlds apart. They were, Kratz.
Sorry, Kratz.
You have no rebuttal on that one. Come on.
Jackson
The ERA
Merrill had a
plus
better
is
year
worlds
than Michael
apart.
Harris did that year.
So?
Okay.
But still, again, Skenes can't be compared to Strider's rookie
Jackson
year.
Merrill just picked the wrong year to be a rookie. How's that?
Exactly. Jackson Merrill is a freaking stud.
Any other year, Jackson Merrill's probably the rookie of the year. Let's not forget Shota Imanaga wasn't even in the top 3, And you look at that dude's year, he had a stupid good year.
He did.
And he didn't finish in the top 3. And Jackson Chourio got no first or second place votes. He was one of the best hitters from like June 1st to the end of the year in all of Major League Baseball. He got 0 first and second place votes.
Welcome
if he had
to young
started out
talent.
the way he ended. If he had started the way he ended, Jackson Chourio would have had way more votes.
Well,
Of
guess
course.
what? Let's get the youth movement going in our next segment. Will Venable joining us to talk about the Chicago White Sox, their new skipper on FT. Excited for it. Be right back. Shout out to Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shavers. What we're highlighting, join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code FOUL20 for 20% off plus free shipping. We've told you often how effective this razor is, but they also gave us some one-liners. I don't know if, Kratz, you want to do your homework for next time and pick some favorites, but for example, they said, both keep you looking sharp while minimizing razor burn and irritation. Very true. Because nobody wants to show up to the holiday party looking like they lost a fight with a Christmas tree. No, nothing. What about with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you'll have plenty of juice to go from Santa's beard to smooth as a snow angel.
That's all you, Scott. That is all you. When you're standing in front of the mirror with your shirt off, you are going to look like a snow angel.
Todd Frazier the other day told me to look like Todd told me I look like a snow angel every day on the show the other day when I was sitting in your chair because you're tanner than me and the lighting hits me and Todd's like, you good? You sick?
Oh, my gosh. I have to say, I know we're talking Manscaped here,
Yeah.
but I will say this. The lighting, for some reason, like sometimes I wear a certain color shirt and it looks a different color in the lighting. So maybe Manscaped fix to me if I.
What do you want them to do?
I don't know. Help.
They have Manscaped shirts that are dark.
Okay, that's fine. Maybe I start wearing those.
That might help you out. So anyway, check out the Chairman Pro. It's the holiday season. It's the best time to get yourself a little 20% off plus free shipping with the code FOUL20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code FOUL20 at manscaped.com. Get that Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that, here, I'll just put it simply this time, is as smooth as you deserve. Hey, Will Venable is the new manager of the Chicago White Sox and joining us right now on Foul Territory. Will, congratulations. Welcome to the White Sox. I know you're a few weeks in. How's it been so far?
Yeah, thank you. It's been great, man. Super busy, a lot going on, a lot of time on the phone, trying to round out this staff and get to know some of the players, some of the other coaches, some of the people we have working internally. So a lot of time catching up to speed.
All right, I'm just going to jump right in here. Will, first of all, how you doing? Congratulations. We've chatted many a times, played against each other for a long time. Why the White Sox? Because you turned down chances to go other places. Why the White Sox? I mean, listen. I'm a White Sox guy, obviously, but they lost 121 games last year. They're kind of in the middle of a rebuild. You probably, I don't know the answer to this, and you don't have to tell us, but I'm sure there was other opportunities out there for you. Why'd you pick the White Sox?
Yeah, I think, first of all, every year kind of going into the off season, and I've been so fortunate to have these opportunities to interview, and you never know when those are going to stop. You don't assume that you're going to get them, but I do kind of go into every off season with my wife, just talking about, some of the criteria that are important to our family. And then you kind of just go from there and kind of piece it together. And for us, we were in Chicago. We absolutely love Chicago. I'd known about Getsy from a distance, passed across a little bit, but really just kind of factoring those things in and kind of looking at the opportunity with this player group who I would also face later in the season. And obviously their record had been tough, but it was a group that continued to compete and continued to fight and really stood out to me. So anyway, just all those things in taking all those things in consideration, it just was kind of no brainer to take the interview. And then getting kind of a look under the hood, like I just really realized that it was a no brainer opportunity for me.
How many interviews have you gone through? How many managerial interviews have you gone through since you quit playing?
Probably six or seven, maybe. Yeah.
And
A lot over 4 years.
And do you learn from those? Do you learn from them, and do you see any difference in the interview that I'm assuming Getsy was the primary person in that interview? I assume the analytics people were also in there, grilling you on stuff. Do you see a difference, and do they stand out in certain areas? The White Sox, did they stand out in certain areas when you interviewed?
Yeah, everyone's a little different in their process. And, up until this year, like I hadn't gone to the second round of any of these. So it was kind of new, some of the process for me. But yeah, everyone's got a different way about going through the process and what they want to ask and how they set up, whether it's Zooms or in person. And I think for me, with my experience with the White Sox and just talking to the people there, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about the people, how they presented their opportunity and the transparency of the things that they needed to work on and their plan for improving those areas was all just was great to hear, and yeah, just really encouraging. And so I think that for me, as you look at these different opportunities, you get to know the people. It really starts there.
Well, I just want you to know, in solidarity, I got my plant too, okay? So just so you know how solid I am with you, I got my plant. Now, also, I never got a phone call about your staff, so tell me how you're rounding out your staff with here, because my phone never rang. Getz has my number. Jerry has my number. Pretty much everybody in that organization has my number. But listen, I got a plant too, okay?
Yeah, well, I wish I had known that before. We maybe would have made that phone call. But no, first of all, my wife is the decorator, and she always says to make sure that I have the plant in the shot. So she'll appreciate that we're talking about the shot
Yes.
or the plant. But yeah, we're still working on some things. We have a couple positions that we're still filling out. We were able to go get a bench coach, Walker McKinven. That I know, Kratzy, you've been around and love. And yeah, and we're working on a couple other spots and kind of figuring out how to, delegate roles and responsibilities.
What did you like about the process of trying to find your staff? Because obviously you've played for a while, your dad played, so your connections throughout baseball are probably more extensive than anybody even knows. But what did you enjoy about that process? Because I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, the time is gone when it's like, oh, I did promise 3 guys that if I ever was a manager that he would be my first base coach. What have you enjoyed about this process?
Yeah, it's a good call. It's a good question. For me, it's really just been about connecting with people that maybe I haven't talked to in a while. There's certainly been people that have reached out and expressed interest in working for the White Sox and being on the staff. And then there's people that I've just wanted to reach out to, and noticed from across the way or heard good things about, and to be able to spend some time on the phone or a Zoom with them has been really cool too.
Hey, Will, I'm sure you got the classic question. What are you guys doing in Texas that we should be doing? So what was your answer? Go in depth as you can, right? Of course, you probably were asking what kind of systems they have set up, but you're a year away from being part of a World Series champion with Bruce Bochy and with Chris Young doing a great job and also working for the league before this. So, did you give specific examples? Because I think some people go, oh, well, every org has the same tools these days. I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah, everyone's doing it a little bit differently. I think, for me with the Rangers what just stuck out is just very clear expectations, and then following up and being part of the solution to hold people accountable to those expectations. So I think that that's something that people say that they do and that they want to say that they do, and I think that there's less organizations that are really executing that at a high level. So that's the number one thing for me, with Chris Young and Bruce Bochy there in Texas. Just their ability to set really clear expectations, hold people accountable, and really high level communication skills come along with that too. So that's definitely something that stood out that I hope to bring with me to the White Sox.
Well, a lot of people thought that you were like kind of the manager in waiting with Bochy. I mean, that's kind of now maybe that wasn't the case, but through the media and through the people talking, they were like, "Oh, well, when Bochy retires again, then you're going to take over." What changed there to say, you know what, I want a fresh new start?
Yeah, I don't know if anything changed. It just really was, about me and the opportunity with the White Sox. I think I would never assume that I would be the next dude after Boch. I would never assume that Bochy is going to be done in a year or 5 years or whatever. He's accomplished amazing things in this game. Obviously, one of the best managers to ever do it, and should be there as long as he wants to be. So yeah, I didn't really factor those things into this decision at all. This was really about the White Sox and what I thought was a great opportunity.
Okay, so again, as a White Sox person, what's the timeline? Give me hope, Will, please, Will, give me hope. Give me some hope because I got to wear 121 losses all the time. So please give me some hope. What's the timeline? Was there any discussion on? And again, I don't know how much of this you can answer, but is there any discussion on payroll? Is there any discussion on moving a Montgomery up or a Schultz up or some of the younger pitchers you guys have? What's the timeline for White Sox fans? Because I want to know.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think a lot of those Getzey could answer for you better than I could.
Oh, we had him on.
I do
Hey,
know.
we had him on. We had him on. He gave us the GM speak. We're evaluating everything, and then I'll get back
Well,
to you. Okay, no, here you
there
go.
you go. We'll leave that to him then, and those answers there. But no, I think for me, and whatever our roster shapes up to be, whatever the result is at the end, there's a real genuine excitement with the people that we're bringing in, with the guys. Talk to the guys all the time. I was on the phone this afternoon with guys talking about their excitement for a new season, and we know that the overall record was bad, and not naive to the fact that is going to change, right? And that there's improvements that we want to see there. But I do think that there's a genuine excitement, and certainly on my end, I'm an excitement about the foundation that's being laid, about this group that was able to go through this adversity last year, stick together, and continue to fight. And as we continue to add pieces, as we continue to develop our internal systems and processes, we just feel really confident we're going to be in a really good spot soon.
What is the one area that the White Sox you felt like from afar, and now that you've been in the organization for a few minutes, what's the one area where you feel like that's a low-hanging fruit that we can improve on as an organization that the fans are also going to see? Because if you say, well, just have a good positive attitude, come into the ballpark every day, fans don't see that. Fans don't see the hard work. So that stuff to me is where you start your day. But what is one area that you're like, wow, they don't even do this? We can flip that over and we can improve the team in that aspect.
It's a really good question. And I think I'm still, to be honest, discovering a lot of the more detailed kind of components of that. I think that you look broadly at a team that, was ahead pitching wise relative to the position player side. So scoring runs is going to be important, and all the things that we know that are important to go into that. Certainly, having thoughtful game plans, taking care of our responsibilities on the bases, really got to improve defensively. And I think on the pitching side, there's a lot of strides to be made too, just getting in the zone more, So without getting too into the weeds, because I'm still learning this organization and still trying to understand those opportunities for growth, I think there's things in all areas that we're planning on addressing.
Well, I want to get your take on two philosophies. Obviously it'll get applied to your team, but even if we're just like sitting at a table and talking shop about the game. One is pitching injury epidemic, and two is fundamentals in baseball. I think it was pretty evident that there was a difference between what the Yankees had fundamentally and what the Dodgers had. Very different style of baseball in the World Series. And then as far as pitching injuries, I mean, we just went through another just absolute injury fest. And, specifically even with the White Sox, Crochet had an awesome year. There was concerns, if he got traded, like how much a team's going to push him. And that's real. I understand where he's coming from. So just wanted to get your thought on those two pillars in our sport and how we can fix that. And is it overstated or is it really bad?
Yeah, I don't know how overstated it is or not. I do know obviously those things are concerns, and we see the pitching injuries and how those are stacking up. I feel like that's always been something that's been an issue. I've heard a couple kind of thoughts on the solutions for that, and I think really it's about the players, and until the players want to change how they go about their business, that there's just going to be injuries, that you're going to have guys who are trying to throw really hard and create really challenging shapes for hitters, and that comes at a cost. So I think that once those things are not incentivized for pitchers, which I don't know how that is possible, but I at the end of the day, I think it's driven by the players. So and fundamentally, I think that every team is striving to get better fundamentally, and that's what every manager is going to go into spring training talking about the fundamentals, and certainly we will too. I think at the end of the day, it's about executing them, and you get into the challenge of trying to figure out how to continue to exercise those types of plays throughout the season when we know that there's a lot of demands on a 162 game season for these players. So like everybody else, we'll be trying to figure that out, but obviously something that's important to winning games across the league.
Well, I'm going to fanboy on you here for a little bit because that's what I do when it comes to the White Sox. They'll tell you I fanboy on the show, so especially for the White Sox. Homer. I'm a homer. I admit it. Listen, see the trophy over his shoulder, Kratz? I got one of those of the White Sox, so I can be a homer. All right? Are Crochet and Robert Jr. going to be back next year? Because, there's a part of me that says if you trade them, you can get a lot of stuff, but if you keep them, they could be really good players for you.
Yeah, another great question for Getsy. On the roster,
you should have. We need to get Getsy next to you.
Yeah, get Getsy on here. No, I think that look, like obviously everybody wants them on their team. These guys are uber talented guys. Certainly hope that they're on our team, but understand the dynamic. And for me, until they're not on our team, we're gonna love on them and get to know them and be excited about them being White Sox. So they're here now, and expecting them to be here until they're not.
This one I'm assuming you can answer, and you don't have to divert to Getsy, because I've played against you, see you from afar, see you now with your perfectly coiffed hair, your smile, you're saying all the right things, loving on somebody. Are you going to be able to get in somebody's face if it's needed? Like, is that something that, maybe you need somebody from your staff? Like I go to Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone's not necessarily like a get in your face guy, but he brought in Phil Nevin, who will get in somebody's face.
Yeah, I am when I think about my leadership style, definitely positive. I think that's just who I am. I think it can be impactful and certainly kind of the style that I lead with. But if you talk to people that I know, I think that they'd also say that I always speak up for what I believe in and what I believe is right. And so, yeah, your tone changes sometimes when those conversations go down. So I understand the dynamics of leadership and kind of the idea that, yes, positivity is something that is important, but, these moments of accountability where you have to let somebody know something and maybe a different tone is something that I'm comfortable doing too.
Hey, Will, which players have you spoken to so far? So we're a few weeks in. I mean, obviously you don't have to go through the whole list, but just to at least pop up a name or two, take us inside a conversation or two that you think stands out, something they're looking forward to, some feedback.
Yeah, I've talked to a bunch of guys. I've talked to Crochet, Vaughn, Benny, Vargas, a bunch of other pitchers. I think I've gone through about half the guys. And yeah, really they've, either guys are having babies in a couple weeks or they're just really excited about, the season coming and getting spring training going. So all the conversations have been great and positive. These guys are extremely excited to get back to it. Yeah, and it's been great. Just really just kind of getting to know guys.
Well, all right. I got 3 questions. I was only supposed to ask you 2, but I got 3, and they're kind of short answers. The first one is going to be probably the hardest of the 3 for you to answer. Have you talked to Ozzie Guillen? Because everyone I've talked to about, the White Sox managerial job, you have to get him on your side. So have you talked to Ozzie? Because you need him on your side on the pre and post game, not to be, doing Ozzie things. So you want him on your side. Have you talked to him?
Have not talked to him. Got a text out to him. Have not heard back from him. We're working on it.
Okay.
Ooh, wait.
Okay.
What?
But he's doing winter ball though. He's doing winter ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
All right. Okay. That's fair. Fair enough. He's in Venezuela. I get it. He's, won the championship last year. All right. Second thing. Have you planned your speech for spring training yet? And are you going to be a clipboard guy? Are you going to be like this guy that reads? Because I've had managers that just cuff it off the cuff. And are you a guy that's going to have like a notes? You went to Princeton, so I'm assuming you're going to have like an outline and with checklists and everything.
Yeah, so I've thought a lot about it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say. We're going to like build out our messaging here over the off season, but I think I'm going to be like a presentation guy, with like some graphics and some videos and some pictures maybe,
Oh, I like it. Props. Bring out the props.
Some props. Yeah. I mean, keep it interesting. We're going to keep it short and interesting. And I think it's a great opportunity, right, to set the tone for the guys, but also set the tone in that, like, we're not going to be sitting here meeting all day, every day, and waste your time doing that. So quick, efficient, maybe some visuals for the boys too.
Well,
Are you going to be
go ahead, Greg.
Are you going to be a run? Are you going to be a run to the mound guy? Are you going to, when it's a pitching change or non-pitching change? Because you just watched Bochy, whatever that was, going out to the mound with his big head and his one notch straight leg limp out there. Are you going to get the boys hype by just like a nice jog to the mound?
I mean, I think that, you're on a major league field. There's a professional pace, I don't know if I've dialed mine in yet. We'll see as we go. But yeah, if the boys are into it, I'm down.
Okay. All right. Last thing. Best thing you've done so far as the White Sox manager. Because I've been following you on Instagram and Twitter. You've done all these different little things around Chicago. I know you spent some time in Chicago. Best thing the White Sox have done for you since you become the manager in the city.
The Bulls game was awesome. Yeah, they set me up at the Bulls game. That was really cool. I have never been to a Bulls game. It's been a while since I've been to an NBA game, and they rolled out the red carpet for us. It was awesome.
Okay. All right. Did they get you a jersey? You sit in Jerry's suite, with like Tony Kukoc and Michael Reinsdorf, and they give you a jersey and they stood you up at like the end of the second quarter or whatever it is, and they're like, "Hey, our new manager," and you held up your jersey.
Pretty much. It wasn't in their suite, but pretty much. Yeah, you nailed
Jerry
it.
didn't have you in his suite?
No, I think we had a big enough group that we had to go to a different suite. So he took care of us, though.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure.
Will's got a big entourage.
That's true. He's the manager. I was just a peon when I got to go. So, yeah, it's understood.
Well, Will, thanks for doing this. This was awesome. Really appreciate the time. Obviously, we have a very large White Sox fan base that was asking about you. So
Yes.
Enjoy the rest of the offseason. We'll catch up with you again in spring training. And happy holidays coming up, too.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Will.
it.
I really appreciate it, man. I'm happy for you.
I'm going to piss everyone off. Can we keep this here?
The only
Not
person you're
forever,
pissing
but
off
at least for...
is Jeremy, our director. I like it, though.
Wait,
It's
but look at
very
the screen
smooth.
right now. I actually think it...
I actually don't think
brings-
it looks that bad.
Yeah, it brings
Looks like I
little
have
something.
a friend. Look, I have
Yeah.
a friend when I need
See?
a hug.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's like a, what do they call it? A service animal. Right? It's a service plant.
We're a little bit over that.
It's a
one.
breaks
service
up-
plant
it
and
breaks
AJ
up-
gets angry.
It breaks up both of you guys matching shirt colors today too. So that's nice.
Oh.
That's
Yeah,
cute.
there's a little green.
Well, one of us has Viorion, and the other one has Viorion.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, we got one more minute. I just wanted to call out a comment that popped up yesterday. Some Red Sox fan, Red Sox something 3600 on our show yesterday, because a lot of people watch our show afterward and then they comment, not in the live chat.
Mhm.
And he goes, "This host is so stoic, it makes the show lack personality." I just want to
Talking about
congratulate
you?
It's the first time I've ever been called stoic.
Are they talking about you?
No.
He was talking about, obviously, there were quite a few other commenters that had a field day. I've not commented back yet, but they were like, not a word I would use to describe Scott. If anything, like, if you wanted to do a diss, maybe like annoying, loud, like pushing it, over enthusiastic, didn't play. You get that
Shirts
sometimes.
too small.
Shirts too small.
Chain
Stoic would
enthusiast.
be like, wait, just want to clarify. If
Bracelet
I was
enthusiast.
stoic,
Stoic is. I would more describe Kratz as stoic. Out of the three of us, Kratz is the most stoic out of the three of us for me.
it says a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining.
That's Kratz. That's not you.
I can't
You
even read
complain
the
all the time.
definition with that.
Trust me. Behind the scenes, Scott complains a lot.
I can't even read the definition without complaining. Stoic is like a major league manager, you know. I mean, Will Venable might be stoic, actually, where something might be like they might lose 110 games this year and he looks like the same guy every day. You know who's stoic? Matt Quatraro. After they lose a billion games 2 years ago, he was the same guy every day. And then this year, they're really good this past season, and he's still the same guy.
No, you know who was
Maybe
stoic?
Go ahead.
Paul Skenes when he won the award last night. He's
Yeah.
like, they're like, Paul Skenes, the rookie of the year. He's like,
He was. And
We need to get
Livy
him on the
and Livy
show
was
to
like
listen
this.
about.
Livy was like, "Oh, great job."
yeah. Livy went in for the kiss, like you went in to kiss me, and he's like, nope.
Yep. He's like,
Oh, man.
Did you see that video?
I didn't. I don't get
I
the
did.
channel. I don't pay for it.
Is this going to be a segment every day, too? If we do that every day, I might just take a couple minutes off.
Hey, Will, go. Let's go. Let's go. Maybe that
It's a
person
new
was
open.
commenting.
I'm
Thought
calling
I was
Scott
the
Boris.
host.
And I'm going to be like, can you just tell me when he signs so I can take this segment off for like the rest of the offseason?
Nope. I love it.
Can you give me a heads up? Can you give me like a day heads up so I can just, that day I'll show up?
Where will Juan go? Wait, but did you see what they did? So Claudia behind the scenes edited it and took parts of you complaining
I
when
heard
it
it.
was
Oh,
running
I could hear it.
and ran it into the
I know,
animation.
see?
So,
Where will Juan go? Who knows? Maybe Juan will go play in Japan.
well, he's been in California for a while now.
I know.
because
Did he
he's
move
been
there
meeting
because the
with
taxes
everyone.
are too high? You need to come back to Florida.
He's
Juan.
definitely not going to sign there in my mind, but the Dodgers are going to meet with him because if you're his representation, you're going to meet with all the big boys. So Alden Gonzalez said that they're meeting. Mark Feinsand reported it first, and Alden said, yes, it'd be absurd of them to follow $1 billion offseason with a $600 million contract, but Ohtani's first year in LA blew away all their financial projections, and they need an outfielder.
Oh. Kratz is thinking Phillies.
For the podcast
Here's the
crowd,
thing.
Kratz is taking a drink out of a Phillies cup.
Here's the thing for me. If they can get him to sign an Ohtani type deal for $2 million, no. Sure, Juan, welcome to LA, brother.
There's a better chance of, I don't know, just pick anything than him taking an Ohtani $2
Of
million
us
a
doing
year.
this segment tomorrow?
Oh, we're definitely doing it.
yeah.
I would do this 7 days a week if he took a $2 million a year. There's no chance he's doing that. But really, what is the percentage chance the Dodgers are signing Juan Soto in your mind?
Under 10.
I think even that's aggressive. I was going to say maybe 2%, maybe. That they're going to, can they beat everyone? Sure. But is it likely? No. Also, I remember I was looking, Michael Kay, I think it was in the past 24 hours, was talking about Baerga throwing that, what was it, 16,660 or something like that. And Kay, during his commentary, basically said he heard that Steve Cohen's just like, yeah, I'm going to go 50 mil over everyone. Like, here's the number. All right, so 610's your number. We're 660. It's not like, and this is what I always say, you want to get a player, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do that every time, but if you're the owner and you want the guy bad enough, you're just like, yo, I'm going 50 over everyone.
That's Steve Cohen.
That's a mic drop. If money is the
But see,
top
if I'm
priority,
Scott Boris, I'm using that against him, though.
why?
It's
Because you're
going.
trying to get
I'd be like, oh, the Yankees offered 700. Steve Cohen's like, 750. You're like, you idiot. Yes, we'll take that. No one
Right.
else is over 400.
But you have to if you're bluffing and the bluff gets called, then it's a big problem, right? If you call and you say 700 and the Yanks don't actually have 700, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So there's been fibs before. Who was the one that I loved the most? Well, there's been a bunch, but Greinke, when did you ever read that story? I talked about it once on this show before. They called Greinke super last minute-ish. They were like, hey, do we still have a chance? We decided we're back in on him. And they threw out some number. Greinke's best offer at the time was like 150, right? And they were like, 185, do we have a chance? And they were like, I don't know. And then they called back, they're like, fine, 210. And it's like, dude was at 150. He got an extra $60 million.
Well, I mean, the Mariners and Cano, right, were bidding against themselves forever. And I think Boris played. Didn't he have Boris too? He played. No, he had.
No, he was Rock Nation. Chris Davis.
Chris Davis is another one.
One suitor.
The
That was
Orioles.
legit. One suitor.
And they still paying that contract.
Yeah.
Jason
So,
Worth.
it's a fun game.
Jason Worth had $77 million on the table, and he got 140 from the Nats, 120 from the Nets.
Yeah, but that was an overpay to
They
try
had
to.
to.
The Nets had to
Absolutely.
do that. And listen, they won a World Series because of that. So I listen.
Totally.
That contract. I mean, yeah,
But it's all about the market.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those Tiger guys back when the day when Boris was getting them all to go to Illich, where there's a lot of them that were like, I don't know if I was going to get that much, but we fooled them. But then I've also heard of some guys that got caught.
Yeah.
And some guys that have gotten caught trying to play that game too. So
You say, hey, I got a better offer. And they say, okay, well, this was the best we can do. We're going to move on. And then, oops, you didn't have a better offer. So that happens. By the way, Jason Worth was just on the Philly show. So part of the FT network. If you want to check that show out on YouTube or wherever you get your pods, give it a listen if you're a Phillies fan. And then, yeah, let's show Brooksgate putting up the money spent in free agency since 2020. So from 2020 up until, I'm guessing, this offseason, where it really hasn't started yet. The Dodgers are at $159 billion. Do we know if that's present day value, though? I don't know the answer to that. You know what I'm saying? Because Ohtani's contract's really $450.
let's go to the
not
bottom.
$700.
Let's just everyone
It's
knows
just
these five teams.
Yeah, who cares?
Let's go down to like 30.
Okay, let's do it. You want to know who
Remember, everybody out there, $1.5 billion is the number the Dodgers have spent.
the,
Now let's go to 30.
the worst team since 2020. I think it's a shocker that they're this much lower than every other bottom feeder. So checking in on, according to this list on Brooksgate, at $57.9 million spent is the Baltimore Orioles.
I'd
That
say
is
where
about
one will
$20
not
million
go.
less.
One will not go to the Pirates, the Sacramento A's, the Rays, the Guardians, or the Orioles.
Yeah.
And you throw the Marlins in
White
there too.
Sox.
Where, so
But
tomorrow,
the White Sox aren't on that list, though, are they? They're in the middle.
we might have to do an animation
Somewhere in the
tomorrow.
middle.
Where won't one go?
Yeah, let's change it. Where would one not go? We have a better chance at that one.
And basically the answer is all of these teams are not in the running. The only team on this list that some people have thought could be involved was the Mariners, but I made sure that I reminded everyone that they were not in on others that they should have been in on.
You know
They're
what the most
definitely not
surprising
going to win the
number
bid.
in that? You know what honestly the most surprising team in that whole list is? The Cardinals at 20.
Cardinals.
Because they're a big market. I know St. Louis isn't a huge market, but they have all of like that whole Midwest area, right?
Mhm.
From like it's almost like from Dallas north, they get Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Missouri.
Sure.
They get like that kind of that whole big area.
I'm going to
that have
protect
grown
them a
up
little bit.
as Cardinal fans.
Yeah. Okay. So should they spend more? No doubt. Right. But this is a free agent list. Paul Goldschmidt was an extension. Nolan Arenado was a trade acquisition. Those are big contracts. So I'm not saying they're where they should be, but I'd have to
Granted,
look.
this is just free agent.
This
So
is
like-
just free agent.
So like
This
when
is
they
not
re-signed
payroll.
Arenado, or
That
they took
didn't
on
count.
Arenado, they re-signed Goldschmidt. These are not considered in this number.
No.
But this is just. But still, you'd think the Cardinals would go out and get someone.
Well, not this year. They're taking a step back.
Well, I
and
know
they've
not
talked
this year,
about
but
it.
I'm saying the last 4 years, you would have thought they would have gone out and really spent on somebody.
Like I'm going off Spot Track, right? Some people like that for 2024, and they were 12. That's not terrible. Like the teams ahead of them are teams that should be ahead of them. Boston, San Francisco, Toronto, Cubs, Braves, Dodgers, Philly. Like they're actually right there in terms of the rankings. So I get what you're saying, but I think they're close, Kratz. What do you think?
My question is, because everyone talks about salary cap. We have a soft cap. Without an actual salary cap, then when you have a salary cap, would all these teams then spend it, or would they have to sell because they couldn't spend? Like, we have to find somewhere in between there. And like the Brewers are on that list, but they spent 200 some, 180 on Yelich. That was just an extension. So teams that are on that list have made big moves, but to me, the Orioles can't be on that list. The bottom team there is below the Rays. And I've said it before, I know the Rays have made significant offers to other players. I get it. They didn't do it. They didn't go high enough to get somebody to come and play there. But like the Orioles, come on, let's go.
Of course. And to add to that, Kratz, they don't have any extensions, right? So when I'm talking about the Cardinals, I'm like, hey, Goldie, Arenado, whatever. They haven't locked up any of their young dudes yet. That's got to happen to at least one or two. Like we all know who the guy is that they need to heavily invest in. It was more of a debate. Now it's not.
It's Gunnar.
It's Gunnar Henderson.
But you should also try to lock up Adley. I'm sorry.
Sure. But
Gunnar it's definitely Gunnar.
Yes,
100%.
Gunner's the guy. And also, I'll help them out a little bit here. This is their first real offseason in the new era of Baltimore Orioles baseball. Now, you need to make a statement right away. So if we get through this offseason and it was not pretty for them, then we can just hammer them. But before this time period, this was an owner who was displaying ultimate ineptitude and who was trying to sell the team, right? John Angelos. This is a new ownership group. And that's everything. They are, as we remind everyone almost every day, they are the sole decision makers. They get advice, right? But they are the sole decision maker on transactions like this. Ultimately, it comes down to how much they want to invest in the team and if they decide to invest in certain players. So Mike Elias will give recommendations. Hey, I think we should go after Burns and try and re-sign him, or hey, let's try and keep Santander, et cetera, or not. But it's going to come down to the new ownership group. So we'll see what they do. Do you guys think they're going to make people feel happy enough this offseason with what they do or not?
No.
You think no? You
Nope.
think it's going to be disappointing?
Nope.
I don't think Mike Elias has that in him. I think he needs an ownership group that has to be like, I mean, not like Steve Cohen, but more like hands-on, like, hey, who are we going to go get? If they just say, Mike, you've done a great job of building this roster, building this team, here we go, we're excited to watch him, then I don't know that he has that in him. I think anybody can spend money, but I don't think he can spend his prospect capital because he spent so long building up his savings account with all these prospects. And he's just like, well, what if this person doesn't pan out and we get rid of this person and they pan out? Like, I think he's going to need some prodding to be able to actually make those moves.
They just got prodding. They were embarrassed. They had a year where they started off super hot. They faded late. They didn't do the right moves at the trade deadline. And now you've got a new guy coming in saying, hey, where do you want me to spend? Because I do think that this group, there's some stupid richness in this new ownership group. I promise you that. So if they don't spend, I would be shocked. I really would. Are they going to play with the big boys? No, they're not going after Soto. I don't think they're getting a Corbin Burns. But there are a lot of guys that they could make plays for, and I think they will. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see what happens in the next couple months. We'll swing back. We'll go over Paul Skenes and the Pittsburgh Pirates with Jason Mackey. If you want baseball the way it should be covered, real talk, Jason Mackey is your guy out in Pittsburgh, and he's joining us next. Getting the questions from fans. So here's one from Soggy79 in the chat right now. How come MLB fans think a dynasty is unfair? Well, because it's not their team.
Yankee fans were complaining when they were winning every year.
Right. And if the Dodgers win again next year and we start to say, oh, this is like a dynasty, they're not going to complain.
No, Dodgers fans would be like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Giants won 3 out of 5, the Giants fans were happy as pigs in crap.
Yeah, and also I'll say this is sport-wide. I mean, when the Patriots were winning a bunch, who else? When the Warriors were winning a bunch, I think, if you go back, NBA is just one dynasty after another for the last X amount of decades. Lakers, Celtics, blah, 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 right? They all had their runs. Warriors. So, I mean, I think in the NBA, plenty of fans complained too if they weren't a fan of that team, right?
Patriots fans were complaining when Tom Brady was winning all those rings.
They weren't complaining.
They were not.
Right.
They were not. Weren't.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the NBA Nets fan when I was a kid, New Jersey Nets. They weren't good for most of my childhood. So I was like, damn, that's not fair. Those damn Chicago Bulls Jordan fans.
Darn those Chicago people.
Yeah. Although but here's the difference.
Listen, Chicago, you know what?
respected it.
Chicago sold their soul because now all the teams stink.
They do all stink.
They all stink
Yeah. Well, why is that?
because they sold their soul in 2016 for the Cubs to finally win, and now look what happened. Give that ring back, Cubs fans. Make
And
every
all your
team good
sports
again.
teams will be better.
Make every team good again, Cub fans.
Yeah.
Give your ring back.
You think that's what did it?
Yes, I do. Ever since then, they've all stunk.
Oh, gosh. All right. So, anyway, we'll take a few more questions during the other breaks from TV, but we'll be back with the TV crowd in a moment, and we'll talk to Jason Mackey about the state of the Pirates, Paul Skenes winning, columnist joining us from PG Sports Now. Here we go. Jason Mackey joining us right now. All right, Jason, right from the jump here, I'm going to give you a little direction.
Wait, hold on.
Can we,
Before
I
we-
need
no.
to tell him.
Oh, I thought he was in the back seat because
Yeah.
the way his camera
There you go.
was, it looked like there was a seat in front of him. Like, did we catch you in the back of an Uber?
No, and I'm very disappointed, guys. I'm in Cleveland. I'm outside of Huntington Bank Field. I'm actually doing a story advancing Steelers Browns. And so I was really excited to have the stadium in the background, then started pouring on me. So I'm just in my car now. It's much less exciting.
Well, that really just sums up the Cleveland Browns these days. So you can just put that in your story. Like, I tried to make this thing look pretty, but it's not.
But wait, Jason.
I know, and
so
then it
Jason,
just-
you do every sport. Jason does every sport.
Yeah, he does.
I do, yeah. I bounce around. A former baseball writer, but now still keep a hand in baseball, but also have to do a lot of Steelers now, too. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Big win for the Steelers on Sunday, by the way. Huge win. No touchdowns, and you beat the Ravens. It's a big win.
Second time they've won like that this season, man. I don't doesn't happen a lot, but the defense is good. It's an intriguing team for sure. Big one Thursday against the Brownies.
Scott's so mad. And by the way, good thing Tucker can't kick anymore because you would have lost. Man.
No, that too.
You can check out all of Jason's work. Yes,
Even
multi-sport
football.
in the Post-Gazette. So let's hop to the Pirates. Let's start on a positive note. They nailed their number one pick with Paul Skenes. We get another example here with him winning Rookie of the Year. You know, how do you describe the way that they actually did do something really well? But then part two here, and I follow your tweets very closely, is knowing what we know about how they run their franchise, and we're talking about Bob Nutting, how can they capitalize off this without spending money?
Well, a couple different things, and they need to spend money. I mean, none of this is an excuse for, how they behave, or I'm not trying to say that, it's okay that they're not spending. They need to spend. But I look at Henry Davis taking 1-1. You have to get something out of that pick. They changed the hitting coach. Andy Haynes gone, Matt Hagan. That has to be an important hire for them. Jack Sawinski as well, 2 years ago at 26 home runs. You have to be able to get that level of production from him. At the same time, I look at first base, and right now, Rowdy's no longer there. They need to be able to, get production out of that spot. I don't know who's going to play there on opening day, and they need to spend some money there. So, yes, it's money. It's also internal development. I look at the Pirates, and I honestly think they have reasonable chances. And I've been as critical as anybody this offseason, with keeping the regime intact, and I don't think they've made the right moves so far. But at the same time, I look at 2025 and the rotation they have: Skenes, Jones, Keller, Luis Ortiz, some other guys. They have a good starting point. It's just they need to supplement it with some money and some internal development.
Jason, I said at the beginning of the show, we were congratulating Paul Skenes on winning. Now is the time. If you're Bob Nutting, you're Ben Cherington, you're whoever's running that front office there, you got Skenes, Keller, Jones to start with, right? And then they got a pretty good core of position players that a lot of them are, some of them are signed, some of them are not, but now is the time. If you're a Pirates fan, you've got to be banging on Bob Nutting's office, banging on Ben Cherington's office saying, we got to spend now. And it's our chance, because if you look at the division also, it's very winnable. The Cardinals are going to be down because they've already said they're cutting payroll. Who knows what the Cubs are going to do? The Brewers, they might be trading some pieces away. The Pirates actually have a chance, to me, to take a step and jump into this division race if they do the right thing.
AJ, you're not wrong. And I mean, I was thinking about this actually driving to Cleveland today. I don't know if it's possible to get a bigger bargain in baseball than what they have right now with Paul Skenes. Seriously, like he's going to make $800,000 because of a team control salary. Look at what other guys at his production level are making. The Pirates have an astronomical deal right now. Nobody's ever going to have something like this again. So if that's not a kick in the pants for you to spend some money, to have some urgency, to do the right things. Now, I will meet the Pirates where they are. I'll criticize them. I'll also meet them where they are. Like, I don't expect them to have a $160 million payroll, but can you get to 100? Can you spend a 110? I don't know. Show fans that you care, and that can be done a variety of ways. Maybe that's first base. Maybe that's, coaching staff. Maybe that's gameplay and how you treat the product on the field. Maybe that's how you treat fans and the value that they get in the ballpark. Like, the Pirates have something in front of them that is, I know this word gets thrown around a lot, unprecedented. It in a way is. Like, no rookie has done what Paul Skenes has done in a long, long time. And everybody fully expects him to do it again next year. So build around that. Go after it. Chase the opportunity that you have for the reasons that you outlined, AJ, which are very good in the division. It's winnable. You can make some progress there. And again, they have a pretty decent supporting cast around Paul. So add to it.
Will they? Because fans need to see something. And my opinion is maybe they have already pushed in that direction. They didn't shut Paul Skenes down. They allowed him to get his, granted, Paul Skenes pitched unbelievable season. He was lights out. He earned his Rookie of the Year award, but they let him continue to pitch. In the past, the Pirates would have looked for a way of cutting his service time to make sure he didn't finish in the top 3. So is this a first step into what you're saying? Like, do something to show you're moving in the right direction?
I hope so. I think so. And I will give you, too, Jared Jones breaking camp with the big club. That is a move the Pirates, when you were here, Eric, probably wouldn't have made. They would have kept somebody down and manipulated service time. Jared Jones deserved to make that team out of camp, and he did. And I'll give them credit for that. So, yeah, I do think some things are moving in the right direction. I also think this regime, and this is where I'll be critical again, is a little bit too much process-oriented. They believe too much in, it's going to level out. It's going to be okay. We need to wait and see, that sort of thing. In a way, no, you don't. No, you don't, because fans here want to see a winner. They deserve to see a winner. This is a wonderful baseball town. I will say that to anybody who will listen to me long enough to hear it. It is a fantastic place to cover sports, to watch baseball. The ballpark's awesome. And if you're not going to treat it like that, if you're not going to give these people what they deserve, you probably see it on your screen there. If Bob Nutting won't fix the Pirates, somebody else should, and I agree with that. Like, if you're not going to go after it now, don't own a team. Don't do this. Let somebody else do it, because there are a bunch of other people who will go after this. But I do, I can meet the Pirates. I do see what they're saying with having a bit of a core here. You don't have to spend a ton. You can bank on some of the guys who are already here, young arms. I could blab about some of the guys they have in AAA, Bubba Chandler, Thomas Harrington, Braxton Ashcraft, Mike Burrows. Like, they do have some young, promising arms, but they also have some holes at the major league level they need to fill.
Okay, so a couple things. One, this is like when the Steelers had Roethlisberger on his rookie contract, and NFL teams, they usually do better when their quarterback is on their rookie contract. So this is kind of equates to Skenes and what he's on. Two, the best part about being a Pittsburgh sports fan, you can wear black and yellow every sport, and no one will know who you're rooting for. So you can just wear black and yellow and wave a yellow towel, and they're like, "Oh, you're a Pirates fan. No, a Steelers or a Penguin." I mean, you pick whatever team you want, right? So that's great about Pittsburgh, and it is a great town. I mean, I've been to a Steelers game. I've been to many Pirates games. They're awesome. Now, what's the move for the Pirates? What do they need most? Is it someone in the bullpen? Is Bednar not the closer? Is it an outfielder? Kratz and on here today, shortstop is kind of their main thing, but there's not a lot of free agent shortstops out there. So what's the move for them, or moves maybe, to take them to the next spot?
Yeah, and Kratz asked me this, and I got on a soapbox and got away from it, so I'm sorry. I do think they're going to do something, and here's where I think they're going to do it. I mean, I don't think they're going to sign Pete Alonso or Christian Walker. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But first base is the first move for me, the first and biggest move. I don't necessarily believe the Brian Reynolds, the first base stuff. That doesn't make a lot of sense. To me, I'd keep him in left field. I'd keep O'Neill Cruz in center. Go get a first baseman somewhere. Paul Goldschmidt is somebody who intrigues me. Ryan Mountcastle via trade, Yandy Diaz via trade. Those are two guys they had interest in the deadline. They would make sense, economically so as well. But I think you need to get a first baseman in here. Don't platoon the thing. Give a guy an opportunity to play 150-plus games, something like that. And then I don't know. The bullpen is an obvious necessity. I think they want David Bednar to be the closer. I understand why. They probably need at least one more setup guy. They've got two good young arms in Carmen Mlodzinski and Kyle Nicholas, but I'm not sure they're ready for, every day, every other day, seventh, eighth leverage duty. So get a veteran there, maybe a Chapman type. I don't want them to spend $10 million on a guy. Certainly not. But, one or two more bats. I'd like to see them bring Kutch back. I think he deserves to go out on his own terms. That is still TBD on what they do there. So, again, a first base bat, one or two relievers, and Kutch. If they did that, I'd be fine with it.
I like Josh Naylor as an option too. I think he's going to be on the trade block, and they're
Go
going to put
get a big boy.
Manzardo
Go get one of the big boys.
Naylor's a big boy. They're not. Okay.
Go get it.
Okay.
Right? They can.
You're saying big boy is in Pete
Walker
Alonso?
or Pete Alonso. Go
and
get
Christian Walker.
Go get him.
There is.
I mean, that's a way to
zero-
say to the
zero
fan base
chance.
that, yeah.
We know they're not going to spend like that. What's the biggest free agent contract they've handed out? We all know.
What, free
Russell
agent
Martin.
contract?
Russell Martin.
Free agent
Liriano.
contract.
Liriano,
I thought
right?
it was Russell Martin.
No, Liriano, I think, got like 30 over 3, something like that.
But that was a free agent deal?
It might, man, racking my brain now. I mean, it's not a lot.
I'm pretty sure the
Let's settle
trivia
on that.
answer is 2 years, 18 for us. But yes, either way, we all know they're not signing Pete Alonso or Christian Walker. That's why I do think someone like Josh Naylor or some of the names you mentioned could make sense. I'm going to push back, Jason, on what Kratz said a little bit. So they do let Paul Skenes eat those innings down the stretch. That definitely helps him win Rookie of the Year. I'm obviously cool with that. But when you're a team that doesn't spend much and you need to win at the margins, do you think it was worth them waiting a few weeks for him to absolutely own minor league hitters and them not get an extra high-level pick? Because you have that side. The other side is they did save money down the stretch. They cut Rowdy so they could save a few $100,000. They did the whole weird IKF situation. So I'm like, you messed up one, you messed up the other. I'd be pissed.
Yeah, and you should be. And Rowdy should be, and IKF should be. I mean, those are horrible positions to put players in. The Rowdy thing is dumb. I don't understand that totally. The IKF thing I thought was equally as dumb. Like, you go to the guy an hour before the game and say, hey, you want to play? Like, come on. If he doesn't think he's in the lineup, he's not thinking about this stuff, you're putting him in a position to fail. That's not fair to the player. But anyway, about Skenes, I don't totally have a problem with it. I mean, we knew where the innings thing was going to land, right? Like, you go, what, 20, 30 over your previous year. That puts him at about 160. That's about where he landed. They would have gotten killed if they, had to cut Paul off. What if they were competitive? What if they didn't go through that 10-game losing streak and you want Paul down the stretch? Like, to me, the process and the important part of that thing is to make sure Paul is available late in the season. And so if I work backwards from that, I ask, how do I do that? Well, I have to probably, start him slow. I have to worry about his innings at the beginning of the season. I don't want to do that to my major league team. I'm okay doing it at the minor leagues. So I think it was the best scenario. Honestly, like, I'll criticize him for a lot of stuff, but I don't have anything for that. I'm pretty okay with how they handled the Skenes thing.
Wasn't the postseason opening day for the Pirates? Oh, sorry, Kratz, you were going. I said, I would have taken that bone. It's like, hey, we got to the playoffs. We got to figure out Paul's running out of steam. I'm like, man, this team didn't even finish close.
I get you, but they legit thought that they were going to win 83, 84, maybe even 85 games. And in a typical year, I mean, that kind of puts you in the mix. And I don't think you want to run that risk of having to shut Paul down. I think in hindsight, like knowing how it ended, we can look at it and say they were crazy. But I can understand going into this season, if you look at the team that we have on paper, look at what we've done, look at where this can go, and you project out to win 83, 84, 85 games, and you don't want to have to shut Skenes down. Like, I wouldn't want to make that decision either. I would rather lop off 6 weeks at the beginning of the season and ensure I have him for the whole year.
So I saw when I came up to the big leagues, I was in the organization 9 and 10 with the Pirates. So I saw all the angst from fans. They got rid of everybody in 2009 that had a legitimate big league opportunity. And it was all young guys. And they built it up to that playoffs, that team, that run with Kutch and Pedro Alvarez and Garrett Cole and all those guys. And now it's been dry again. How many more years of this will it then become a Steelers town? Because I believe what you said, I believe it's a Pirates town that are just Steelers fans. But maybe I'm wrong. But how many more years of this will fans take it? Because they're up in arms, and Bob Nutting has no rebuttal to it at all, ever. But there has to be a breaking point.
I would think so, Kratzy, but I mean, this is going on. This isn't just a recent thing. I'm 41. This has happened for most of my life. And people are still like diehard, man. I can't tell you how many old timers I talk to that love to tell me about, they saw Maz in 60. They used to listen to Bob Prince and Lanny Fratteri and, the Pirates teams of the 70s. Like, this is such a great diehard baseball town. I'm not saying that as a reason that like the Pirates should think that they have endless runway. They don't. I mean, I've covered this team since 2019. I've seen them go through a rebuild. I've seen things get really bad. It's been a long time since I've seen this fan base get this mad. This is like end of 2019 type of furious that fans are. They're fed up with this. They sort of understood the rebuild. And what they don't like is what appears to be complacency from the Pirates. They don't like that they're bringing Derek Shelton back and that they just seem to be okay being mediocre. They just seem to be okay winning 76 games. And I don't think the players, I don't think anybody in that clubhouse is okay winning 76 games, and even the owner, as goofy as that sounds, like I don't think he wants to win 76 games, but I think he's being a little bit too passive in retaining people. And I don't think the organization communicates its message well. And I don't think it shows its intentions with its actions in terms of like spending money. So anyway, you roll that up into one big thing. And I think it's people being ticked off. And I don't know, maybe they have a couple more years. I guess that's logical before fans really start tuning them out. But frankly, if it's gone on this long, I don't see why after a year like 35 of them doing this stuff, it would just suddenly stop.
Two things, Jason. Pittsburgh's becoming used to it because they have the Fenway Sports Group that owns the Penguins, and John Henry's notorious for going full throttle, putting it down. So I don't know how the Penguins are doing this year, but if they're anything
Not
like the
good.
Red Sox, they're see,
good.
there you go, full throttle for the Penguins. Now, also, go ahead.
No, the vitriol directed toward the Penguins right now and FSG might actually be worse than the Pirates. It's not quite, but fans are pretty hacked off at both of them. Anyway, sorry.
Ooh,
Okay.
I just
And
looked
then
at the
last
Penguins.
thing,
They're
the
bad.
Steelers for years, since whenever, I don't even know when they last won their Super Bowl, but they've been like 9-8, 9-7. Yes, Tomlin's never had a losing year, but they've been mediocre for a long time too. So maybe this Pittsburgh fans are just becoming used to their teams being okay but not great. And can the Steelers break that curse this year and get to the Super Bowl and have a great year?
You calling us mediocre? Don't call us mediocre.
No, I didn't say that.
I get what you're saying, though. Man, no, I get
Just
what you're
maybe
saying. It's totally fair.
Because like Mike Tomlin's been there 20 years, and every year they're like, oh, he's never finished below 500, but every year it's like 9-7.
I know. People in Pittsburgh, they hate hearing about his number of years without a losing record. Like, win a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016. But I will say this in the Steelers' defense: they've got the most positive story going of anything in Pittsburgh sports right now. I think they have a very good chance of ending that drought, probably more so than the Pirates at this point. So they've veered into okay territory. The thing with the Pirates, though, just to stay on topic, like if they could ever win, and Kratzy, you saw some of this in the city. Like, this is not just a football town. This can be a baseball town. People come out. You saw it earlier this year when the Pirates were winning. They were the biggest story in town. People didn't even notice that the Steelers started training camp because the Pirates were so interesting. That was the end of July. And then they went in the toilet and they blew it in August, and it all fell apart. That stunk. But if they can actually figure this out and win and compete, and you saw it in 13, 14, and 15, this could be a fascinating place to be for baseball.
Yeah, they're on a long list of teams whose ownership groups want to be the Rays. If every single team in the league was the Rays, go for it. It doesn't work. Scrap it all down. You do 6-year rebuild, the whole deal. Like, they're here now. They did what they were supposed to do. But the last piece of the puzzle is you do have to take some of the profit out of your pocket. And if you don't believe me, Mark Cuban blasted Bob Nutting and said, hey, if you got yelled at for $40 million a year in the center of town, would you take the $40 million a year? And that's really what's going on here in a nutshell. It's one sentence to describe what's happening in Pittsburgh. So in the meantime, we'll just keep blasting the heck out of how this guy's doing things. I know he's not watching or listening. AJ Burnett parked in his spot, so he doesn't care.
I love that.
It's so good. But anyway, hey, we're rooting for them to do something, give Ben Cherington a chance at least to compete here. So thanks for being real always on socials and with the articles, Jason. Fun to follow, and enjoy the game, the action over there this weekend.
All right, dudes. I will. Thanks so much for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Jason Mackey. Check out his work. We'll post some of these clips. We'll be right back.
I felt like the game was kind of passing me by a little bit when it came to the offensive side of things, especially in the roles that I was in the last couple of years, playing a few times a week. I just wasn't producing, and I felt that. I felt that in my soul that, it might have been time to move forward. But what kind of was holding me still in the game was I'm healthy. I still want to compete. I can still run the bases. I can still play the outfield. But obviously, if you're not hitting, there's not many roles for those kind of guys anymore, that's just the reality of it. So when I got released by the White Sox in May, I was very thankful for the opportunity to go to big league spring training and have an opportunity to make that team out of spring training, which I almost did. Went down to AAA, and it was limited time. We had guys on the 40-man that needed to play, and I was playing once or twice a week, and ultimately there was just no at-bats for me. And so no one ended up calling after I got released to play the outfield, to hit anymore. So like I said, I still wanted to compete. I still felt that deep in my loins that I wanted to help the team win. So I started building up. My wife and I, we live here 40 minutes north of Austin. So I was working out at ROI, a guy by the name of Sean Gallagher, who was helping me, pitch and figure things out. And I ended up building up all through the summer. It took about 3 months. And I went to one, it was an amateur tournament where you couldn't be signed with a professional team. It was the NBC World Series. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it in Wichita, but I threw one inning and the ball was coming out clean. I knew where it was going. I had good curveball. And there was a few teams the next morning that were wanting to sign me and give me a shot to figure it out. So I ended up going down to Tampa, which was the Yankees spring training facility. And I was building up there. I think I started building up a little too fast, ended up getting a little shoulder impingement, which is fine now. And I ended up throwing one inning there towards the end, which didn't go well at all. I didn't record it out, but still kind of battling through a little rustiness in the shoulder. But it was a great experience. So where I'm at now, I've just been building up this offseason, still pitching, just still trying to figure it out. Like I said, it's 13 years of professional baseball. I'm gonna make a transition. I'm healthy. I feel good. Just looking for an opportunity to compete and continue to do what I love.
Hey, here we go. It's the Inside Scoop, and it is powered by MLB Perfect Inning. More on the game coming up in a moment. Ken Rosenthal joining us right now. Ken, great to see you I actually wanted to start with the article you put out this morning on Roki Sasaki. I mean, you can explain this better than I can, but how does this affect the rest of the international signing market? And are there any potential solutions to fix this problem?
Well, it's really complicated for starters, Scott. And what I wrote about was the real possibility that Roki Sasaki will wait until the next international signing period, which starts January 15th. And then the team that signs him will give him their entire international bonus pool and break the pre-existing verbal agreements they have with a number of Latin American players. And the gist of the article is basically saying that's not right. That I know verbal agreements are not binding agreements. We all know that. We all know these agreements are also illegal, but every team does them. And they do them sometimes multi-years in advance. They sign kids as young as 12. The whole system is a mess, and we all understand that, and it needs to be reformed. The international draft is one suggestion, one thing that ultimately might come to pass. There are others who believe an international draft is not necessary to clean it up in Latin America, but other things can be done. Regardless, I'm looking at this specific situation where these kids, with the chance to make life-changing money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions in certain cases, are going to be deprived of that because their team is going to sign Sasaki and essentially abandon them. That, to me, just seems not right.
Ken, you look obviously pale. You look weirdly pale for someone that was on vacation for a couple weeks. So I just want to know, like, you get outside, get some vitamin D in you, okay? Because
He says that to me every day.
Your
so I put a
complexion looks
plant
better
next to
when
me.
you have a nice tan, Ken. But how do we change this? How do we change this? Because this is not only the team's going to take advantage of this, but Sasaki's going to take advantage of this to try to get more money. So is this a bargain thing that we're going to have to look at in the future when the next bargaining chip comes up? Or because it seems unfair, like you said, to the Latin American players, and it's also a way for Sasaki to try to grab more money.
Well, excuse me.
Hello.
He's not going to grab more money because what he can get is capped. So the most he can get in the next signing period is $7.5 million, and only from a certain number of teams. So it's not that. Now, my suggestion to fix it is to remove him from the international signing bonus pool this year and just have that team that gets him sign him and get their entire international class. Now, some people might say that would be unfair. Well, it's, in my view, more unfair to the kids who would lose their deals. Now, granted, kids lose deals all the time down there for various reasons. They might show up something in a physical that the team doesn't like. They might not be performing the way the team likes. A team might lose some of its international budget. All kinds of things happen for teams to break these deals. Now, MLB will tell you that the solution is an international draft. And in the last round of bargaining, the union, for the first time, agreed to the concept of an international draft. They had fought it for years, but they made a counter proposal in which they accepted the draft. The two sides never agreed on the terms of that draft. That would eliminate, the draft would, the early signings and some of the shenanigans, hopefully a lot of the shenanigans that go on down there. The problem with the draft is that it's no longer a free market. It's basically you go where you're told to be. And baseball says that they would get more money to international players this way, but the union's point of view has been it still wouldn't be anywhere near what the domestic kids are getting. And we can go on and on with these arguments. Maybe they shouldn't get as much as the domestic kids because they're so much younger and less proven. It's a very, very complex situation. But again, AJ, today I just focused on the specific aspect of it, and this specific aspect of it to me reeks, and that's why I suggested a change.
All right, so then let's go over a simpler topic. Where will Juan go? So
Please, we can stop talking about this every day.
Soto's been meeting with all of the teams. I actually do think, Ken, that this is not going to drag on for a while. I think they've been very efficient picking a day to meet with each particular team, setting up, conversations, and then eventually an offers. So I listened to Fair Territory, of course, from the show that was released yesterday. But adding on, is it as simple as highest bidder wins, and it's likely Steve Cohen?
That is, to me, the most likely scenario. Now, as I said on Fair Territory yesterday, strange things happen in free agency, and you don't always anticipate where a player might go. And I used two examples yesterday, too, that I remember most from my career. Albert Pujols to the Angels in 2011 and Zach Greinke to the Diamondbacks in 2015. Those were shocking signings. I don't know that we've had one at that level in recent years. I guess when Semien and Seager went to the Rangers the same day, that was pretty surprising, but it wasn't at that level. So I don't rule out, one, the Yankees retaining Soto, two, the field, any other team, may it be the Phillies or any other club, taking a real run and maybe even signing him. But it just seems to me that Scott Boras's goal, Juan Soto's goal, is to get the most money, to make a precedent-setting deal. And that is entirely their right. It's what Soto worked for. It's why he turned down $440 million for 15 years from the Nationals a few years back, to get to the open market and establish his true value. So who's the guy best positioned to give him that? In my view, it's Cohen. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to end up that way, but if I were a betting man, that's the way I would bet.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too. Okay, let's go to Skenes. So he wins Rookie of the Year. And also, AJ was asking me, I genuinely didn't know the answer. Did you have a Rookie of the Year vote, or which one? Are you allowed to say which category?
He won't
you
tell
voted
us.
for?
He won't tell us.
How
Don't
does
worry.
this
He
work?
won't.
I'll tell you
forgot.
which vote I had, but I won't tell you who I voted for. I had an
Okay.
AL MVP vote, and that's not till Thursday.
Right. So wait, actually, then we can dive into Rookie of the Year. I don't
Yes.
remember if you put this out there, but how do you feel about what the results were last night?
I'm glad you asked, Scott. I actually was surprised by both. I thought Kowser was going to win in the American League, though it was very close, and certainly Luis Gil had a really good case and is a worthy recipient. In the National League, that was the one that really surprised me, because as historic a campaign as Skenes had, as brilliant as he was, and no one can deny what he did, Jackson Merrill, from day one with the Padres, was in his own way equally brilliant. And he did some historic things too, not at the same level maybe as Skenes. So I thought, generally speaking, a voter, at least I'm speaking for myself here, prefers the position player to the pitcher in a circumstance like this. And we can argue, well, should they be grouped together? I don't mind them being grouped together. It's a great discussion. But I was surprised Skenes won a little bit. I thought Merrill was going to take this thing, and both were great candidates. Actually, Jackson Churio was a great candidate, and in any other year, he might have been the winner. So congratulations to all of them, really. But both outcomes sort of surprised me, I must say.
All right. So first of all, Ken, you voted for Jose Abreu in the American League MVP. We know that. If you're
I did.
surprised Paul Skenes won. But what was your first comment you said about Skenes' season? What was the first comment you said about Skenes' season that he had this year?
Historic?
Yep. Thank you. That's all I want to hear. Kratz, historic.
There's no question.
It's historic.
He did amazing
Ken said
things.
it.
And did he pitch the volume of innings maybe you would want from a Rookie of the Year? Maybe not. He'll had more innings, okay. But they handled him a certain way. And it's really interesting to me. I know you had Jason Mackey on right before, and the Pirates could have brought him up opening day, and they had their reasons not to. But I wrote an article with a couple of our other writers in August. This was with Stephen Nesbitt and Zach Meisel. And we wrote about the possibility of the Pirates shutting down Skenes. And the reason to shut him down, the temptation to shut him down, would have been to prevent him from finishing first or second in the Rookie of the Year, and then prevent him from getting this full year of service. Now, they didn't do that, and they deserve some credit for that. Now, obviously, if they had done it, it would have reeked of service time manipulation and all that, but we've seen teams do this kind of thing all the time. The Pirates kept pitching him. They cut back his workload, and it worked out great for Skenes. Didn't work out so great for the Pirates because they didn't have him at the start of the year. They don't get the pick, but they did do the right thing by him and by the sport.
So the Pirates moved in the right direction until the last month of the season when they did the Rowdy Tellez thing and they did the IKF thing. Which is more indicative of the way the Pirates are going? Because the Rowdy Tellez and the IKF thing are pretty much on par with the Bob Nutting run teams. But the Paul Skenes and Jason Mackey even pointed out they brought Jared Jones up to start the season, and he was on the opening day roster, something they normally would not have done. So those two positive things, are they overshadowed by the negative things? And is the organization moving in that direction?
I would say the organization is best reflected by what they did with Rowdy Tellez and IKF. And until proven otherwise, that's what people should think of them. And yes, with Skenes, they did the right thing. But my gosh, if they had done the wrong thing, it would have been a national controversy. It would have been crazy, right? And with Jared Jones, okay, they started him at opening day, but that's what you should do with a player who is worthy of being on your roster opening day. Now, Skenes was a different situation in that, as Jason said, he had an innings limit to deal with, and they were going to need to cut him off at some point. So either do it at the start of the season or the end of the season. They chose to do it at the start. The Pirates are the Pirates, and it's interesting. I heard Jason say, well, I'd be happy to see them get a first baseman like Goldschmidt, some bullpen help, and bring back McCutchen. No, I understand that from his perspective, covering the team, that's what's realistic. But my gosh, as you guys said, they should be doing and aiming for bigger things. This rebuild has been going on, I believe, for 6 years now. It's time for them to step up. Other teams have made better efforts, Kansas City being most notable among them. Now, you've seen Cleveland operate kind of like Pittsburgh does, but Cleveland does a better job overall with its organization.
And Ken, they probably have 2-3 years tops to capitalize on this situation. And that's also assuming healthy arms. And we know how our sport operates. You know what I'm saying? So really it's now, right? We don't know if a pitcher's going to go down with an injury. It just happens to half the pitchers in our sport these days. So the other question I have for you that I was going up against Jason with was, it's been a minute since the postseason. Isn't it a better problem to make the playoffs and then make that decision down the stretch on how Skenes is doing at that point? This is a big, big dude. I've been around him, right? Like, sure, there would be concerns. Is it going to lead to injury down the road? But you were wasting bullets in the minor leagues, however you want to script it, early on this season. And he looked like he did not belong there anymore. So I still have this thought in the back of my head where they go, let's bring him up mid-May. He probably won't win Rookie of the Year at that point. Then we get the service time. And if we happen to be good, we get him in the playoffs. There's no, in my mind, excuse or reason for me to think otherwise based on how they've operated.
No, I agree. And they had their reasons for starting him in the minors. Remember, he hadn't pitched all that much professionally. Really, he had very few professional innings. And I understood the logic of giving him a foundation. But as Jason said, in hindsight, sure, it would have been absolutely in their best interest to start him at the beginning of the year and then see what happened. You could do it that way too. And as it turns out, we all know they did not contend for a playoff spot. They were who they always are. So, Scott, I'm with you, but I thought the way they handled him in general, the proof is in the pudding. The guy won Rookie of the Year. He was brilliant. Granted, the team did not advance to where they wanted it to, but I don't know that starting him on the opening day roster would have made a difference in that regard.
Ken, do you know what these are? You know what this is, Ken?
I'm looking. Baseball cards?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know, have you heard about the Paul Skenes baseball card?
I have.
So when I open this box today and I get that, should I take the 30 years of 2 tickets behind home plate, A Night with Livy Dunn, and all the other stuff, or should I take the money? I knew you would say that.
Yeah.
Gosh, I knew you would say that.
30 years behind home plate? I mean, what is that?
30 years.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
30 years.
Like
somebody
3
pointed this
playoff
out
games.
AJ, somebody pointed this out
Yeah.
on X. Where behind home plate? In the lower level or the upper level?
You should be up there above the press box, which is like on the moon up
Yeah. Fair question.
I'd call them and say, give me the damn team. Or I wouldn't even say give me the team. I'd say sell the team and I'll give you the card. Tell your owner to sell the team.
If you sell it for like a couple $100,000, you know, then maybe you could help the Pirates buy. Oh wait, never mind. They wouldn't even spend it.
Exactly.
Sorry.
All right. So here I'm gonna spin this, Ken. So Pirates fans are likely to be disappointed, and we all feel for them. Do you think there are some fan bases that should be excited based on early conversations or what we're seeing? Like, I'm trying to look at what you said on Fair Territory about the Juan Soto sweepstakes and think, should Blue Jays fans be excited that they're going to make a potential bid and probably won't get him, but that means they're going to plan on making some big moves? And of course, same with Red Sox fans. Like, could this be a change?
I would say Red Sox fans should be more excited. It sounds to me, based on the conversations I've had, everything I've read, everything I've heard, that they are, if not full throttle this offseason, they're at least pushing the lever toward that. And they seemingly have learned their lesson. They know they have work to do. To me, Soto is a great answer, but not necessarily the answer. If they get a big left-handed starter, maybe another starter, fortify their bullpen, with all the kids they have coming, they might be in a pretty good spot next year. So I would say their fans should be excited. I don't want to give them false hope, and I'm not inside their executive offices, obviously, but their actions so far indicate that they are serious this time. The Blue Jays, I've been saying this for months now, I don't get it. In my view, they should probably at least retool here. Trade Vlad, maybe trade Bichette. Actually, trade both. Trade Vlad, trade Bichette, and then kind of just pick up the pieces from there. Because right now, what you're looking at, okay, they're probably going to make a big move or two. And maybe next year they do bounce back. And I understand management's argument that that was a bad year last year. We've got too good talent not to compete in a better way. But even if you do that, you're still losing Vlad. You're still losing Bichette. You're still losing Chris Bassett, all potential free agents. You've got issues in your bullpen. You've got a weak farm system. You are not in a great place as an organization. And the point of what I wrote yesterday was, why would Soto, all things being equal, even really look at them? If they pay the most money, God bless them. But are they going to outbid Steve Cohen? I don't know. Maybe they will. And maybe Soto says, I'll do it. But they'd be in a lot stronger position with Soto if they had Vlad Jr. under contract. And they have been unable to do that. So that's where I see those teams. Another team that I'm interested to see, I don't know that I'm excited for their fans because I don't know you can put it in those terms, but Detroit is in a position here now to take another step forward. They did some incredible things last year. We all know that, especially the final 2 months. They have a good young core in place, and of course, they've got the likely AL Cy Young winner, Tarik Skubal, for 2 more years. It's time for them to ramp it up a little bit, do what the Pirates have not done, and do what other teams in their position have not necessarily done, Kansas City being one of the notable exceptions. So I'm looking at Detroit and wondering what they're going to do too.
Those are all great ones. Okay, I got one more team to bring up because it's based on your report from the weekend with the Reds and the Royals and the potential interest in exchange with players that include Brady Singer and Jonathan India. So I think India is an obvious fit for KC if they can pull it off. On the Cincinnati side, I'm curious how the Nick Martinez dynamic changes things. And I don't know if you know this for a fact or just have an inclination. Do you think the Reds expected that he was going to accept the qualifying offer? They're already, I think, doing my math, past where their payroll was last year. I think they actually could be good next year even without doing a ton. But I don't think they expected this because they're going to be in a tough spot with budgeting for the rest of the offseason.
They are. And certainly when you make a qualifying offer, you have to be prepared for the player to accept. So in that sense, I'm sure they were. Martinez being a Scott Boras client, it's a bit of a surprise that anytime a Scott Boras client chooses not to go on the open market, it was the same with Bellinger earlier this offseason. But at the same time, if you're the Reds, you still want Brady Singer. You still had a season in which a lot of your starting pitchers got hurt. Depth was a problem. You need as much as possible. And Brady Singer is a quality major league pitcher. So I can certainly see the logic of adding another arm. And in that scenario, they wouldn't be taking on that much salary. I think India is $5 million this year, and Brady Singer is going to be in the $8-9 million range. So it's not a dramatic step forward as far as payroll is concerned. I still see the logic from the Reds' perspective, even with Martinez back in the fold.
Okay, love that. Well, thank you so
I'm
much,
not saying
Ken.
it's going to
Good
happen,
to see
Scott.
you.
And
Right.
I want to be careful with this. Obviously, we wrote that conversation has taken place and that both those teams are looking at other similar type players as well and parallel type deals. So that was just an indication or a glimpse of one thing that could happen. And I'm not saying it will, I'm not saying it won't, but you see the logic from both sides.
Hey, it's
Ken, do you
mid-November.
like my
No
new
one's
plant? Let's
signed.
get to the real thing. Do you like my new friend here, my emotional support plant?
Anything that makes AJ nicer, Ken, right?
Is he nicer because of that plan? I don't know.
I was nice to you
A
today.
little bit.
You were
a little
nice,
bit. He
AJ. I
started out
appreciate
a
it,
little
man.
cold, but yeah, exactly. Well, Ken, good to see you. I'll be with you on Thursday for Fair Territory. We'll see you then.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Inside Scoop, Fair Territory host. There's the show. Check it out. There's a brand new one. that just was released yesterday. Obviously, especially in the offseason, all still applies today. So go
But
give
you're
that a
hosting
listen.
on Thursday, right?
I am with Ken. I've done it before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've done a few before.
Congratulations on the call to the big leagues.
Thank you. Finally get that.
Try to be
upgrade.
stoic.
Yeah, I'm going to bring my plant with me. This segment is powered by MLB Perfect Inning 24. Scan that QR code on the screen right now, and you can download the game for free on your mobile device. Get the best baseball game in the palm of your hands and all the latest from the 2024 season.
Becoming a champion takes perfection. Perfect defense.
Seager gets there. My goodness.
Perfect base running.
Eager on the move. That was tremendous.
And my favorite, a perfect swing.
This one is history. Franchise-changing player.
Are you ready to become a champion? Make it perfect with MLB Perfect Inning 24.
Highlight: would Juan take a 2 or 3 year deal with LA to win a ring or two and get paid? No,
he's taking the most money, bro.
No.
He's taking the most money.
A million
Do you think
times.
he's going to go for the most average annual value, or do you think he's going to go for the most present day value?
Mm-hmm. I think present day.
Well, you just said different things, though. Average annual value is the number per year. Present day value. You're saying the biggest contracts.
Well, I mean,
overall number. Basically, you're saying, would he go for a deal? Like, this is what a lot of, Dodger questions.
3 years.
Would he do would he do 5 years at $50 million a year? Like,
No, he's going long term.
He's going 15 plus years, most likely.
He might have an opt-out after 4.
Yeah, that's true. He might, depending on the team he signs with. Hey, Boris is the king of that, and he'll try and pull that off. What'll happen, in my guesstimation on a negotiation, is, they'll settle with the Mets at 660 and say, all right, because the Mets are like, we're really not going to go over that. There's nobody else at 610. So we're at 660. We feel like this is a strong offer. And Boris will say, okay. But because you're not getting to the 720 that we wanted, we do want our opt-out in year 4. That's how this stuff works. If you want them bad enough, you say, okay, right? And you take them for the 4 years. And what's the worst case scenario? There is a case where the opt-out does help, where you go, okay, if this dude is gangbusters for 4 years with us, we got ourselves a deal. And if the worst case scenario is that he opts out, okay, we'll figure it out by that point. Or maybe we just went on a great run and now we're in a bad spot. Like, opt-out, in my mind, after a year or two is much dicier than opt-out after many years. Because that means that player has really proven that they belong back in the market again, and you got a ton of value out of them. Otherwise, they're not opting out anyway.
I agree. That's why I asked.
Good. Finally, a good point, Scott.
Just trying to be stoic. A lot of news going. So we'll swing back with the Giants making some interesting hires. And you see that there's some drama in Tampa Bay. All right, let's sizzle. So Jeff Passan putting out a report in the last hour that the Giants are making a couple hires. I think you know these names. Ready? Bobby Evans, who was a longtime part of the Giants organization, and Jeff Berry. They'll be advisors to new president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, sources telling ESPN. Evans was a longtime Giants executive and served as their GM from 2015 to 2018. And Barry, of course, was longtime Buster Posey agent who left CAA earlier this year and really left the agency, the representation business. He was on with us at least once this past season, and you guys got into a good debate about the Posey rule. But this is pretty unconventional to see an agent be a part of a front office, aside from Brody Van Wagenen taking over the Mets for a period of time as their general manager. I know he's not running the team, but it'll be interesting to get Jeff in there. I actually am surprised that we don't see more of that. Are you guys? Because a lot of the agents played, right, to some degree, not necessarily major leaguers. They're smart business people. And I'm like, man, if you have them in a front office, maybe it does bridge the gap sometimes, and maybe it even makes it easier to sign certain players because you see what's happening on the other side of the table. Am I off, or what do you think?
Oh, you're right.
Do you think it's a smart hire? What?
Well, it's going to help him with
Jeff or someone
negotiations.
else.
That's what I'm saying. Bringing Bobby Evans back,
yeah.
Obviously, he was there forever. But to have the agent in the room is going to help Buster Posey with negotiations.
It is, right?
100%. It can't hurt.
I understand why more teams don't do that. It's not like just because you sign the agent, it's going to be like, oh, he's an insider. He's trying to get more money for the players. Like, nah, he retired. He's trying to do his job right now. So he wants to get deals done. And the Giants, were playing patty cake with a lot of free agents over the last several years. And they want to be more firm with what they're doing. Even last year, they finally laid the hammer down, but they signed everyone late because they were more into the bargain than the player. I actually think that was a big thing, right? Like, we're going to squeeze this guy for every penny and wait until he gets to spring training or beyond and get all screwed up, and we're going to get our best price. And it's like, well, cool. You didn't put him in a best position to succeed.
I think also part of being a leader, we just talked to Will Venable. He's in the process of hiring guys. Like, you have to trust the people that are around you. And I don't think Buster Posey's going to Jeff Barry and being like, hey, we need a guy that really can get a lot of ground balls. Who have you seen out there that you really like? Like, I think there's niches of people that take care of this certain niche of your organization, and he really trusts Jeff Barry. That was his agent. He's seen him through tough times and great times. So I think you hire those guys because you trust them in those situations. Just because he has them on as an advisor, it doesn't mean he's going to be making moves like, hey, I think you should probably, send this guy down. Talking to Jeff on here, I loved the discussions that we had. He's a very open book about his opinion on things, and Buster appreciates that. And Bobby Evans, I think what he's done in the organization and when Buster was there, that just speaks for itself.
Can I ask one follow-up here? So I remember having Jeff on, and he did some other media interviews, and one of the points he made was, you're the Brewers, you put together a really good team, and you needed an ace, and you traded him away. And his case was kind of like, hey, you should have just rode out that last year instead of making the deal. Now, you can definitely get detractors on that front. But do you think any of that philosophy goes to San Francisco? Like I don't want to say a don't worry about tomorrow, but if you think that your team's good now, then why do we always look ahead? There's a really good debate to both sides of that, right? Because you could push your chips in and then really look bad for several years after that. But Kratz are pretty plugged into the Brewers. I think if they had Burns, are they in a different spot? Maybe.
They had Burns going into the playoffs in 23. It didn't work out. What's that?
Different team, different season. Maybe they beat the Mets. Maybe then they give more, maybe they beat the Phillies after that, whatever. I don't know. I'm not saying that was the right move. I actually think most of the time, if you're a team like that, you do have to trade away the asset if you're not going to be able to afford him and get something back. But I'm just throwing it out there. Does that mentality and that opinion, trickle into a front office at all and make anything different?
It does, but it doesn't trickle into every front office. If Jeff Barry gets a job with Matt Arnold and with the Brewers, that mentality can't trickle in because that's not how they've built their infrastructure. The Giants, they can do that. They can allow a free agent pitcher or a pitcher on his last year of his contract to not get value out of him except for on the field. And I think that's how the Giants are. That's how I think Giants ownership wants their team run. And that's why they hired Buster Posey. Buster Posey isn't like a stopgap GM. He's not like trying out baseball player, head of baseball operations. He's here to make the team win. And I think ownership proved that. So they don't make that same kind of move, which aligns with Jeff Berry. Like Jeff Berry would say, we're going to get at the best team we can, and we're going to ride them out through their contract. If this team is going to win, we need the best players.
Okay. All right, let's break. We will still get to a little drama with the Rays, and I'd like to get a few words from Dodgers pitching coach Mark Pryor out there.
John, what comes to your mind when you think the Rick Camp game?
Well, it was a daffy game. It was delayed by rain in the first 9 innings. And I started with Ernie Johnson on radio. And what we did is we would switch at the end of 4.5. Pete Van Weren and Skip Carey opened TV, and they'd go to radio, and we go radio to TV. And little did we know we're going to be on TV for the next 8 hours. And the Mets were a much better team. And they finally got ahead by 3 in the 13th. And a fellow that you won't remember, a really nice guy named Terry Harper, he hit the foul pole in left field for a 3-run home run to tie the game. And on it went. And about Rick Camp, I'll give you a good line from Skip Carey. When I was a kid, the giant broadcaster was Russ Hodges. And even though I was a Yankee fan, I loved Russ Hodges. And Russ Hodges, had a lot of sayings. But one of them was that, anyone up there swinging a shillelagh is dangerous. So I did that one day on the air when Rick Camp was up. Rick Camp was the worst hitting pitcher in baseball. And I said, well, as Russ Hodges would say, anyone swinging a shillelagh is dangerous. And Skip said, obviously, he didn't see Rick Camp. Well, so here we go to the 18th inning. The Mets again lead by 3. And Rick Camp, the worst hitter in the world, hits a 3-run home run to tie the game. And I would say that the buzz in the crowd was great, but it was 4 a.m, so there wasn't a lot of crowd. And so that was the Rick Camp story. Now, no one mentions in the 19th inning, he gave up 5 runs. And I went right to the bar with Ralph Kiner and Bob Murphy and had one for the road, as they say. And that was a heck of a night.
Man, 5 a.m. By the way, I just want you to know this, John, as someone that grew up in Florida and was a Braves fan, I know who all those people you're talking about are, okay? I mean, I remember Ken Oberkfell, Bob Horner, Rafael Ramirez, Rick Mailer, Rick Camp. I mean, trust me, Steve Bedrosian, Bruce Benedict. I mean, that was like my heyday. So don't say that nobody remembers the names of those guys, because when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, Dale Murphy, those were my guys.
Well, they were my guys too, and I loved doing those games, and they all were really nice guys. Bob Horner, Dale Murphy, Bruce Benedict, on and on and on. They all were good guys.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Scotty, you're muted.
Say it.
Not hearing you
You
right
say
now. Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. Mark Pryor was on Dodgers territory, pitching coach for the Dodgers. I think second time he was on the show, and he's great. He's really well-spoken, so I want to run a little clip from it.
There's a lot of connections of how guys relate to each other because of what they do. Starters go deep, they give the bullpen a rest. Starters don't go get deep, the bullpen's going to pick up more. So it's kind of ebbs and flows through the course of the season. And as far as the injury is concerned, it's very difficult. I mean, we're talking injuries have been around for, a long time. I mean, even back when I was playing in the early 2000s, we were dealing with injuries. I was dealing with injuries. Teams were dealing with injuries. And we've advanced so much in modern medicine and recovery, and we're still seeing, an exponential growth in injuries. And where is it coming from? It's hard to pinpoint because everybody's different. Are we going to start saying that velocity is the number one culprit? I'm sure there's some variables that for certain guys that is an issue. But clearly velocity plays in this game, and it's very important. How much of it is, some of the scheduling. How much of it is now that we are pitching on 6 days rest? Are we guys throwing more with more high intensity throws more often than they had in the past when they were pitching on regular rest or every 5th day, and they were taking maybe a little bit of a break in between versus not feeling as fresh and as frisky? Are we pitching guys too late? Are we detraining guys and not pitching them enough? Who knows? Like, the bottom line is there's never one answer for one person. And then there's obviously, before they even get into pro ball, there's a lot of at the amateur level. How much of these guys have had injuries before they even got to pro ball, and then they get put into the pressure cooker of professional baseball, throwing every single day? How much of that is just exposing pre-existing things that people were unaware of? As far as what we're doing to it, we're probably going to get together after Thanksgiving as a group, top to bottom, and start having these conversations and try to find out if there is anything that is common with the way we've been developing guys at the minor league levels and continuing through the big league levels. Is it something in our training? Is it something in, the types of pitches that we want to throw? And trying to see if we can find any common ground. Because I think the one thing is, if you can find something common, then I think there's something actionable.
Hey, check out Dodgers Territory. A+ VIP guests lined up by Alana, Clint, and the rest of our crew. You can get it wherever you get your pods, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And thanks to Mark Pryor for joining us. Good little few minutes there. All right, let's see how we did on the awards. We'll recap BetMGM style because we placed our predictions before the year started, and most people had Colton Cowser winning. He had the highest ticket, the highest handle on the year, biggest liability, so they would have gotten hit BetMGM the hardest if Austin Wells won. That was not close. And the closing odds leader, as in at the end of the season, Luis Gil was at -250, so he was favored. But even still, at that point, that's the only time. If you feel that confident at the end of the season, when you've looked at everything, that player is going to win, I mean, that's the only time I would be like, all right, I'll throw 500 down to win a couple $100. Skenes was -350, which that one shocked me. I know Ken said he was surprised. I was not surprised at all.
No.
That Paul Skenes won.
No.
And he was highest ticket, highest handle, the whole deal. I was not surprised at all based on because predicting, not debating, which we did earlier. Who do you think is going to win? Who is going to get voted on by the writers? I was like, no doubt Skenes is getting picked.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that close, and it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It shouldn't have been.
He got 23 out of 30.
Won this, and the Pirates didn't shut Skenes down to continue to pitch well. He won the award easily.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts, Kratz? And then I want to tell people about Todd Father showing up in Cincinnati. Well, let's just go to it. $1,500 first bet offer, bonus code FOUL. Sorry, Kratz. We'll let you talk in the next seg. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your account. Get yourself up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And I would like to let everyone in the Cincinnati area know that on November 21st, which is in 2 days, this Thursday, Todd Father's going to be on our show, but he's also going to be on a special, the Rowler version of My Favorite Game, and he's going to go over 2015. Winning the home run derby. So he'll be out there. I saw C. Trent Rosecrans is going to be there. Jim Day. So the Growler people are out there as well. If you want to be there in person, it's at the Nation Kitchen and Bar at the Banks, right next to the ballpark. We've been there multiple times. It's an awesome spot. So Todd Father's hitting a flight probably tomorrow, and we'll have him on the show on Thursday too. Mackey pull $1 million live on foul territory.
Let's see.
Yeah.
How many cards you getting, Scott? How many packs are you opening here?
I'll probably, I think 2 each in the next.
Because there's a lot.
3-4
There's a lot of
minutes.
cards in this pack.
Yeah, I would say 2 each, and then I want to let you.
Just so we know these are official. I'm ripping the plastic off.
Yes, this is real.
The real card people would be disgusted that you used keys. They have like these like razor blades that keep it super nice. AJ's old school this
well,
one.
that's cute.
So we both took 3. No,
We both took 3. There's a lot more.
There's a lot more in here.
So I'm sure AJ will have
I'll post later when I open the rest of them.
He'll have a great evening.
But, I mean, is there a certain way you're supposed to open these?
I do like this so that you go from the top, but it doesn't. I mean, it's more just be careful when you see what you got kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
that was a strikeout.
Kratz, if I find Skenes, do I run? Do I just sprint home and see if AJ can catch
if you
me?
get Skenes, I mean, you deserve to sprint home.
I got Trevino, Espelon.
Yeah, I mean, it's what the
Machado
best part
card.
is? It's the height,
It is.
Because when you sit here and you look at them all, you're just looking for the white card, right?
The
but Ellie here's
card.
Oh, I got an Ellie too.
I'm gonna give that to Scott. He loves Ellie.
You.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Ellie, you're on the desk. Here's
I got
holiday,
nothing.
but this is just a regular holiday, right?
Yeah, Wyatt Langford, Pete Crow Armstrong.
You have time to rip one more on yours. I'm slower than you, but if you want to try one or two more, I think we got another minute. Chapman, Vladdy 2024 All-Star game, but
yeah, those are kind of common.
But you're looking because you get at least.
I mean, you get one of these in every pack, which is
What?
this is a Josh Young future star, and then you get a Wyatt Langford. They love the Rangers in these, by the way.
And you get an auto in every box.
In every box, but
it's one, right?
It could be a good one, or it could be one I got last night that was the one guy I never heard of.
We didn't really know who
I'm
he
not going to
was.
say his name, but I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
I would say no. We know like 99.8% of big leaguers. We didn't know this guy.
I didn't even know. Did not know
he's
this
not
guy.
on the
If I
team
told
right
you his
now.
name, Kratz might not know me either.
So we're not rich yet.
Maybe
which
he'll come
means
on
we'll
the
be
show.
back tomorrow. Exactly.
But I got lots more packs to open.
Yes, we've got Chris Sale on Thursday, Jim Bowden tomorrow, maybe a manager of the year depending on who wins. So we'll see you tomorrow unless we get the Skenes card. Going to buy the Pirates.